Twitch, you are always behind. We will begin without you. Salutations, class, and welcome back. That was a first attempt at or well, I suppose it was a second attempt, at hopping in on another stream for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, but it seems the networking on that game isn't particularly functional, and for as small of a fan group as it has, most of them seem to be in Europe, so we might not have very functional networking for Nicktoons All-Star Brawl in the future. Instead, think we might go with our usual Noita tonight instead. Think I might go ahead and try to look specifically for Melty Blood and Guilty Gear Strive tournaments in the future. Alright, always have to mess with a couple of other functions. Let's not get into anything too violent just yet. Oh boy. You're telling me I'm having a poor bitrate again. Let's give that a refresh, one more check, and wait for our usual regulars to show back up. La da 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 da. Oh, you fiends. As the stream quality, it's telling me I have a low bit rate here, but looks fine on Restream itself. And on YouTube. Guess that might have only been for the first couple minutes. Alright, hopping into it. Now, let's take a moment to remember where we last left off and see how things are going from there. Ilya, Kayla, welcome back, both of you. Think I'd rather stick with this. I like this game a lot more and might be a bit more functional than some of the other games we've been playing. Ah, that's right. We last left off with a very violently powerful machine gun. But I think we can do a bit better. In my time away from the stream, I've looked up a couple of extra techniques for how we can modify our wands. This is one way we can probably make this a little bit scarier. So, you like this game too, Ilya? It's probably my favorite to stream, other than Strive, maybe. Gives a lot more to talk about, and it's definitely a bit slower paced. So, what I've learned in this week of playing is the way that spells combine with each other, such as the cyan functions here, like the quadruple spell or double spell or the bifurcated cast, all of those multicast effects. They essentially function as drawing cards from a deck. So, previously, I have considered the blue spell effects. We're going to go ahead and do a little game mechanic lecture until we have more people showing up. So previously, I considered the blue effects here, which are the projectile modifiers, mostly to just apply in sequence to the next projectile that comes after them. That is incorrect. What happens is you can think of it sort of like drawing cards out of a deck. Here we have a 2 spells per cast spell here, and with 2 of them happening, it essentially draws 2. Projectile modifiers all essentially have a draw 1 on them. They do not subtract from your hand size. So the draw 2 here will go through every projectile modifier at the start, before getting to Spitter Bolt, which is one of the 2 that it draws, and then Spark Bolt with double trigger. So, every single one of these effects here, all 6 of these projectile modifiers, apply to the first of these 2 spell effects that are drawn. Oh, it's... What are we doing here? Pause in Holy Mountain, and it's not pausing. Huh, interesting. Alright, back to the lecture. It didn't give us any intrusive of a wand anyway. I'll just ignore that. So, these first two spells are drawn with all the modifiers applying to them. That'll give us a little bit of extra mana, go ahead and light up the area. Most importantly, these bullets are going to home in on nearby enemies. All of those apply here. Yeah, we had a bit of an error with the spell functionality here. Any of the timer or trigger spells also count as draws. The Spark Bolt here with double trigger is unique in that it is the only spell in the entire game that comes with a draw 2 attached to it. There's a lot of other spells such as these magic arrows, which will have triggers, and plenty of timer spells. Each of those only draw 1, so you will have to use a multicast card with those. With the draw 2 here, it draws both the chainsaw and the spitter bolt coming after it. But these last 3 slots here are all essentially grouped together, which means if we apply the damage plus here, after the Sparkle Bolt with double trigger, this is one of the spell effects that is drawn, but it is applied to the entire stack that we have here. One thing that's very important about multicasts is essentially it draws an entire hand of spells together. With this damage plus being drawn, previously I believed it applied to the very next spell in line, but no, it applies essentially to the entire hand that we are drawing. So this damage plus applies to both the chainsaw and the spitter bolt here. With the proper multicasting setups, you can actually make your spells violently powerful. And with that machine gun, you'll see it starts out with the white sparks from the earlier bullets in our chain. Those are the ones that home in on opponents. The ones with the yellow trails, those are the ones that have extra damage applied to them. Now we have a very high capacity on this wand, but we might want to be... let's go ahead and swap the rosters of these around. I'd like to have a teleport wand will not need to consume too much. Of course, now, this means we'll have to revise our entire setup here. This is a draw 2 wand, essentially. I don't think we'll need multiple teleport bolts, so we can go ahead and leave this one behind here. So, swap those out there. Now, we only have a single spell per cast, which will apply all of these effects to the first Spark Bolt with double trigger. Then draw 2, so we have 2 damage pluses applying to both the chainsaw and the spitter bolt here. A bit less rapid of a fire rate, but it's going to have more sustain. You'll see from the... well, seems the chat occupies the top right there. Go ahead and move that out of the way for the moment. The entire time you haven't really been able to look at my section of perks and health, with 2 of my corners already being occupied, the top left and top right, by the HUD, and the bottom right being the single most important one for you to look at. Well, aside from my face, of course. You don't really have too much room left for the chat. The information in the top right is stuff I have to pay attention to more than you guys, so I suppose we'll stick with putting it back in the top right here. What I would like to demonstrate, though, is you'll see the mana regen there still happens reasonably quickly, even in spite of our lower fire rate. If we took that off, it's not making it any faster. The wand here, however, has an incredibly slow recharge amount, so despite the faster fire rate that afforded us, it's... oh, right, it had the always cast explosive. You know, it's probably regenerated at this point. Let's go ahead and just swap that back. We'll do fine. We'll just need to not expend all of it at once. There we go. Apply a lecture, and that'll let me recharge my mana over time. Leviathan, welcome to Twitch. Have fun harassing me. You do know that random potion is still very capable of screwing me over, right? teleportation that is very capable of being a problem to me, and I picked up the wrong thing. What even is that? Powder vacuum field, what an unfortunately shaped icon for it. Alright, I think we've done our introductory lecture. Any of the class that would like to be in attendance will be here. It depends. It could actually end up breaking onto the ground below me. Alright, let's look at our list of perks here. We didn't pick anything towards the end there because, for one, we're not doing too many trick kills. Trick greed might not work for us too much. Cordyceps, fungal creatures spawn from the corpses of enemies killed by you. Not too useful. Extra wand capacity. You know, I think we'll save and come back here, because what I'd like to do is after we get through the tower, we will have the chance to upgrade all of our wands with extra capacity. We can go ahead and grab a Wand of Destruction or Wand of Swiftness and make them even better for us. Quick run through. Our wands here. Welcome, James! The Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl stream was pretty scuffed. Smash rules operate differently from anime fighter rules, so I was very unfamiliar. Seems they were doing everything through Smash GG, which meant I had to be in immediate attendance for a match or else I'd be disqualified. So after the first one, well, seemed like the other VTuber that was showing up for Losers Bracket wasn't even on Discord. I wanted to make such a lovely entrance, and there were only 2 people there in the stream. Not very good at making friends, Smash is. So I might stick to anime fighters in the future. Chat box will not be there. I'm just making sure we have our last minute preparations, since right now it appears all our regulars are available. Restream chat is not supposed to be in the middle of the screen because I was attempting to make a real quick demonstration here. You'll see we have a very wonderful wand here in the first slot, but it's very slow to recharge. So we'll have to be very, very, very cautious with our wand usage. Alright, quick reintroduction from when we were last here on Monday. Wand 1. We have a very violently powerful machine gun that will have homing and a lot of damage attached to it, which I guess that'll just do everything we need of it. Wand 2 I always try to have set as a teleport wand, and Wand 3 here is always casts Matter Eater combined with a number of arrows. Combining those together, we have a very reliable way to dig through terrain. There we go. So, wand number 1, we might want to be sparse with some of our combat, or at least only fire as often as we need to, just to make sure that we're able to recharge mana before our next encounter. We should also review our perks real quick to make sure we're familiar. We have Perk Lottery, which is important. Oil Blood being probably the most important here, even if technically not the most powerful. That one actually gives us the fire immunity, which, along with the fact that we'll be starting fires everywhere, you know me, mad scientist and all, that protects us from most of the damage we can cause ourselves. Oh, would you look at that? Hold on. We did have our first encounter with Steve prior. I've got an idea. We could make things really, really nasty here in a moment. You know that Healing Bolt does provide us with a reliable healing source. I'll go ahead and hoard those spells. Let's see, what are we looking at? Critical on oiled enemies. You know what? Let's rock it. Go ahead and take that Spitter Bolt off there. Xander on fire, a classic. Well, of course, you know me. Except now, I have compiled the mad science to give myself oil blood instead. and now I do not run the risk of damaging myself with my frequent self-ignitions. Right now we might want to clear up our inventory a little bit, make sure we get the less important spells out of the way. And I have another new trick to show you once we have the right spell effects to apply with it. Makes a projectile more explosive to the environment. You know, let's go ahead and apply that on there and see what that gets us. Recharge time of 0.52. We want that to be as low as possible, so we have an incredibly high DPS wand. Now, hopefully this doesn't kill me. No! Cuts through the terrain like butter. Alright, so, we have made our preparations. Our strategy here, which we decided to revise for a moment once we found that healing wand, but I think we need to adjust our priorities a little bit. Well, for one, we need to be able to hit our enemies. There we go. So, the most important effect out of perk lottery is the fact that we now have a 50% chance to, upon selecting a perk, the others don't disappear. That is the single most powerful and honestly overpowered perk in the game. Auto aim is good, but we will not use this wand for now because it is a filthy shuffle wand. What we would like to prioritize first is making sure we have all the perks available to us that we can, at least until we make it to parallel universes. We're not quite capable of handling that yet. But given how powerful our first wand is here, we should be able to make it down to the Temple of the Art and into the laboratory beyond. Once we have selected all of our best perks from that selection, we will head back up and fight the Alchemist, because now that we have healing spells, we will want the Greek letters from the Alchemist himself, which will allow us to give ourselves an infinite spell count. I'll explain those mechanics once we get to them. Less powerful than I remember, but still a very capable wand. I think what we'd like to try to do... I've got another idea. We might want to practice for when we end up going to fight the big bad alchemist himself. So, why not adjust things a little? Instead of having a violent machine gun, why not be a little bit more destructive? Now, how much mana does this take? A lot, and it does vaporize a significant amount of the terrain. So we will have to be very, very careful with this. But what's important here is there's going to be very few enemies that can survive consecutive hits from this. We have an always cast explosive weakness on this wand, which... 2 hits. That is one of the more durable enemies in the game, and already down. We also don't need to worry about the fire started by our robotic enemies when we go to pick up the gold left behind. That is why I wanted to avoid doing that. Okay. Note, we will need to always cast this wand at long range because it has a huge chance of backfiring on us. In fact, I'd argue it's incredibly irresponsible for us to be using this one at all, without the electric immunity we'll need to have with it. And explosive immunity. Oh yeah, that definitely has enough range to hit us. I'm afraid we'll have to go back to the machine gun, but once we get to the fight with the Alchemist, we'll go ahead and swap that back since explosions and single high damage hits are how you defeat that guy. I wonder. Another thing to investigate, I did talk about essentially the drawing cards mechanic of our drawing here, with the triggers. The spark bolt here with double trigger draws 2. But there is a mechanic in this game referred to as wand wrapping, and that is, if you essentially draw spells past the end of the wand, it will actually go back to the block at the beginning, but only the first block. You can't make a wand indefinitely loop on itself. So, what I'd like to try to see here is... doesn't seem to have too visible of an effect there. Why don't we... see what happens when you place this here. Seems it might not be making much of a difference there. Let's see, that is 8 damage versus potentially even more if we just applied 2 damage pluses here. I don't immediately have a way to test it, but if our wand wrapping is correct, that might essentially reduce the mana cost of our wand. Doesn't look like it's making much of a difference. Oh well. What an absolute miracle! Giving so many lectures has provided us with a boon. In that case, out of fear of making myself too powerful, let's go ahead and get a move on. Yeah, that will suffice for now, especially with a high rate of fire. Do I see another wand over here? Or is it just more lights of enemies? Yeah, just more enemies. What we'd like to do is get to the bottom as quickly as possible. That way we will get more perks. Hopefully one of them is electric immunity, which, after we have that, we're allowed to be as irresponsible as we like. That's not true. We'll still need explosive immunity in order to not hurt ourselves with lightning bolts or electric explosions. And kaboom. Now normally, I dig an entire tunnel, but I do want to be a little bit careful and make sure that we have a bit more time to fly around, given that we will mostly have to have a direct line of sight to our enemies. A tunnel, while it does protect us from the sides, does not actually give us much cover to hide behind. If an enemy starts staring at us down the tunnel, then we aren't given much of an escape route. So while we have the cover up here, we'll be using it to safely engage our enemies from a distance. And always having a spot to hop behind. Although in some cases, like right here, I might go ahead and try to dig a tunnel through all the unstable broken ground here. We might go ahead and dig tunnels through small walls that we find, as opposed to digging a very long straight tunnel down to the end. Right here looks safe, but I do want to dig a little bit more there. Hit that, hit you. Random perk might seem like a boon, but there is a chance of it getting us teleportitis. After this run is over, I think I'm going to go ahead and revise our votes a little bit. Make sure we're getting the right stuff. Right. We transformed lava into vomit, which means I have a surprise to show you later. Now, with our still incredibly slow frame rate, oh, would you look at that? The expiration trigger, and so soon. Hold on. There's some tricks we can run with that. But for now, gotta deal with Steve. And we do not have the mana to immediately do that. Moment, Steve. Give me a moment, Steve. Not the DPS I would have wanted, but it does still have enough to break through his shield. Ah! Let me out. Break through this a little bit more. And there we go. Would you look at that? Extra life! Upon death, you respawn with 100 health. And we still have our selection of the other perks. Extra item in Holy Mountain will be wonderful if we get to the point where we start running through parallel universes, so I will take that. And that disappears our third option. That would have been Lucky Mutation, which would have turned us into a spider, like a lot of those freakish spider-like enemies we find running around. That's actually a bit of a bane, because while it does allow us essentially the ability to always stay off of the ground, it prevents us from levitating. It instead basically binds our movement to all of the walls. And there is an exploit with telekinetic kick with that, though. But we'll have to leave that for another time. Maybe on a less functional stream if we find that very early on. Go ahead and take off that spitter bolt because we're gonna go ahead and use this instead. And soon, I'd like to get some uses out of those expiration triggers, but we'll need a specific spell to function with it first. What was that? Poison. Well, at least we avoided it. Now, you'll see there's pits of vomit down here which were previously lava. I did mention on the last stream, and that was basically the focus of the lessons on the last stream, is that if you do enough drugs, well, the nature of reality changes. I actually need to switch our wand back since it seems this one isn't going to work quickly enough for us. Thanks for exploding the crystal, you irresponsible goon. Alright, the enemies down here are among the toughest in the game, so we will not be able to keep using that same wand for our main source of damage. Now, the issue here is that all of that is cursed rock, so we'll have to take a different route back up, so as to make sure we take as little damage as possible. We carved that first hole, dropped these effects down there, and now we essentially can double up on our shields. Though that will require swapping back around to a wand that has a better recharge amount. As much as I would love to exploit the always cast explosive weakness, seems that's not very feasible to us in the future. Instead, we'll let that store up a lot of mana for whenever we need to go ahead and teleport around. Right, that's why we didn't have Explosive Projectile on there. Explosive Projectile really raises the amount of time before you can cast a spell again. You'll see now, we're able to fire our arrows a lot quicker. So we'll do that. Go ahead and cut through the hole here. Whenever you drop a spell outside of the Holy Mountain, it becomes able to be picked up normally. Once we get... we can't get through the cursed rock like that. So it seems... Yeah, alright. Looks like Matter Eater does not allow us to get through cursed rock. In that case, we will have to find a different digging tool. This is also a very important effect for us. Warp Cast is essentially a long-distance cast that stops at walls, and there will be very wonderful applications I'd like to show that in the future. Alright. We are doubled up on our shields. We do not have enough money to buy those spells. What we are looking for now would be mostly new wands. We can get down to the very bottom level, of course, like this. We have enough firepower for it. But the most important part is making sure... Oh, wait, that's right. We do have vampirism. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. While we have all this blood here. Oh, when did you get here? Ah, drat. He's going to get slime in my blood. I don't want to drink slime. Now, Broham previously has told me that vampirism's a little underpowered, but I think it's really a potential lifesaver for the right setup. Yeah, you'll see that took about 7 shots, so... Using our first wand will not have enough sustain. All the enemies down here have way too much health for that to be viable. And here's our first wand. With an absolutely excellent set of spells and stats on here. We'll go ahead and pick that up. Make sure we get rid of these guys real quick. That guy has polymorph projectiles, which we will avoid at all costs. Get rid of him first, and we'll take care of the rest momentarily. As dangerous as acid is, those tentacle guys, the terso, I believe, which I think just translates to tentacle. Literally, those flying jellyfish squid-looking guys are just called tentacles in Finnish. Those guys have an area of effect freeze attack, which can stun lock us. So we'll need to be very careful around them. Another wand. Before we head back, we'll see if this one's even worth taking with us. Always casts heavy spread. No. And it's a shuffler, so no. Although if we wanted the most chaotic experience, I suppose that would be the go-to wand. Fire projectile in every direction, and you have no idea which projectile you'd get. Let's go ahead and head back. Now we have a similar number of effects. What is most important here is the... Let's compare. It does have a shorter cast delay, but a longer recharge time. Oh, you. Do you really have to disrupt me? With the greater recharge time, you can actually go ahead and leave one of the mana effects off there, which will compensate for the reduced total number of spells we're allowed to use. Actually, hold on. Chain Bolt is a very exceptional spell, so instead of using the chainsaw, let's go ahead and put 2 chain bolts on there. We might not need the light at this point anymore, so... Yeah, hold on. Oh yeah, that expires way too quickly. Huh, what was going on there? Well, that's interesting. Look at this. We have just a rearrangement of the spell effects here. Now that we've applied the add mana over here, I guess it doesn't apply its cast delay change over here. So, you'll see these spells come out at a very rapid fire rate this way, But if we move it back over here before the spark bolt, we get a lower fire rate. Interesting. Assuming those mechanics are consistent, let's go ahead and place both of those after double spark. Well, there we go. An absolute murder bullet. Chain bolt consumes a lot of mana. Let's go ahead and put that back on there and that back on there. We have a computer-destroyed machine on our hands. Potentially. Although the extra damage on a chain bolt and the fact that we can still get a good few 5 bullets off, I think we'll go ahead and stick with it like that. Get rid of those. Actually, to save a bit of processing power, we'll go ahead and stick those on our auxiliary wand here. We'll keep the damage bonus on us. What else can we get rid of? There's not going to be too many robots after this point, so we're not going to need critical hits on oiled enemies either. I think all the spells we have up there should do fine. Rapid Fire Burst Murder Beam. With explosive damage. Yeah, you'll see how quickly that killed him. Oh, you. I'm just trying to have a drink. Poisoning? What did I drink this time? Oh, somehow right, my own blood from my own damage must have gotten in the potion. I wonder if there's a way for me to convert all that to blood. There is. We might have to be back later. Or just use our potions a bit more cleverly, so as to not draw in any of the oil, and hopefully get only blood in that potion. I can deal with a little bit of slime. Try that one more time. Yeah, you'll see it starts pulling in the lighter fluids a lot quicker. That should be enough. We're not going to need all of that immediately, and there will be plenty of blood to be found down here. That's even before the actual chain bolts come out. Now, this guy here that you see phasing through the walls is actually completely invincible to our attacks, until we find the crystal he originates from, which we can find by tracking his position. All right. Thank you. This place used to be called the Temple of the Art, and I see a great work of art before me, full of cheese. Ah, darn it. You ruined my vampirism. It's all cheese now. I'll just take a little drink, though. No matter. We'll be able to convert it all back to blood in time. I'll show you how we'll do that. Bone dust pouch. You know, in the case of possibly finding some use for powders in the future, let's go ahead and pick this up. You can't normally pick up powders inside of a flask. There are occasional ways to get powders inside of a flask, but they usually require either finding it already in a bottle or causing a fungal shift. Heals him since he's a vampire. That's well, I was drinking the blood from the top here. What I'd like to try to find out is if blood transmuted to cheese still retains its properties. I did recently experiment with some other sorts of fungal shift experiments. One thing I did find out is when something is fungal shifted, it retains a lot of its interactions while it's in a bottle. On a different save file, I did get vampirism and managed to shift all the water into blood. Putting water in a bottle and then drinking it actually did not heal me, because it was still considered water while inside the bottle. But if I poured it out on the ground, even though it was water technically transformed into blood, drinking it off the ground did work. So, in any case in the future where we might want to cheat and look up exactly what sort of fungal patterns we get, what I'd like to discover is if we fungal shift blood into something that's more functional when it's usable as an actual fluid, say ambrosia, which is an invincibility potion. Having it on the ground while it's transformed into ambrosia, will it function just as ambrosia, and then, say, once we bottle it, would it revert to its functionality as blood and be drinkable for a vampire? If so, we'd have the makings of an unstoppable run on our hands so long as we, well, cheat. Or get really lucky. In what games other than Noita would you get annoyed at? A lot of games are designed around a specific sort of gameplay loop balance, so that, or at least most of the games that I'd play, would require a very reasonable set of expectations placed before you. So most games are designed with you supposed to be able to face and expect the challenges before you. Now, a lot of randomly generated games, roguelikes being the biggest category of that, are one thing, but there's other examples such as, say, Minecraft, where you could be minding your own business and a creeper drops on you from above, with almost no prior indication. The answer there is mostly just every entirely randomly generated game that does little to balance it out. I would cite Dead Cells, as it is another, roguelite. But what separates that is Dead Cells has a lot of stabilization to its randomness. Mostly it randomly generates the levels, but it'll randomly generate the levels and items you can find, but most of the challenges you come across, you should reasonably expect to know how to deal with. And a lot of the level design elements are reused, so once you are familiar with a certain set piece, you should be able to handle anything that comes your way through it. Now, looking at the position of how this delirium has been floating around us, you'll see this purple crystal right here. Which, once we destroy that, you'll see the delirium completely vanish. There we go. This is essentially an upgraded version of the other wand we were previously carrying, but what I'm interested in is that expanding sphere. Hold on. That uses a lot of mana. But less total than firing 4 arrows, so... Oh, right, we have 44 seconds of projectile gravity. So, no digging up for Xander. Rain World can be pretty chaotic despite its non-randomized map. I'll give that game a look up. I actually don't think I've heard of Rain World before. I've probably seen it. I might not know how to identify it. Starting this next week, I would definitely like to expand the repertoire of games on this channel. Oh, right. Wrong wand. I was just using the wrong one this entire time. Remember, I always have digging on 3 if I have a digging wand. Collectively, that's a smaller cast delay, so maybe getting those expanding spheres won't do much to actually help. Oh, would you look at that? Another add mana. As as well as the same capacity and slightly better cast delay and recharge time. We'll go ahead and swap out this wand. Water potion. Not something I'm too interested in getting after. Also, let me know any other games that you would like to see. I think next week we'll go ahead and try to look for 1. Expect Dead Cells. 2. Expect Noita on Monday, because this is still my absolute favorite game to stream. And 3. I would like to go ahead and look for another silly, bizarre indie RPG, as they're the next in line of categories of my favorite games. I love roguelikes, I love fighting games, but I also love indie games for the most part. Let's see what we get out of this. Right! Those need to be placed after, so put this here. So what it looks like is the effects of the cast delay modifiers do not apply. Alper, welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, the voting integration only works with Twitch, which I will go ahead and post that link in here right now. YouTube is if you would like to warmly vibe here. Otherwise, if you would like to participate in the votes, there's the Twitch channel link right there. Where was I? So, one thing I have heard about wand building, and this is something I'll have to check out on the Noita Discord, is spells that are cast from a trigger don't apply their delay modifiers. So, we will want to put the reduce recharge times before, and then the add mana afterwards, because the add mana will still give its mana drain difference effect, but it will ignore the cast delay penalties. So now, what's that recharge time? More things for us to think about. What a bizarre set of spells. I think that should work just fine regardless. What I believe happened is, with a lot of the differences in our mana casting costs here, let's go ahead and swap this around, see if it gets as much difference. So, if your wand does not have enough mana to cast a spell, it will skip over it. What happened there is we ended up getting a single very long recharge time because it skipped over the spark bolt with double trigger and tried to cast one of the chain bolts, which gave us a very long cast delay afterwards. So, placing the add mana here, while it might penalize us a little bit on a casting time, will ensure that we'll always at least be able to cast spark bolt with double trigger. Despite being very different games, Rainworld gives a very Noita vibe. I will check it out, actually. It might not be this coming week, because I might try to look for an RPG, but I will give Rainworld a look. I've actually started getting a bit of a temper at Noita lately because of how capable the RNG is capable of or how much the RNG explodes in this game. There's so many encounters you run across that you really don't know how to deal with. The ever so infamous getting Noita experience. Now what's important with the chain bolts there is, yeah, I don't think we'll need the damage plus modifiers if we can't fit them on there. The chain bolts will seek out other enemies nearby, so if we lob this into a group of enemies, it will still be able to kill everyone else, even outside of the initial first target. So far, a very slow, cautious, and effective save run through the Temple of the Art. We'll be able to get down to Spidey in no time. Now I'll wait to ask the question until we're face to face with the man himself. But the question to expect is, should we fight Spidey now? Or after a bit of exploration? The last time we fought him, we gathered 13 orbs, and that had the very, very dangerous effect of raising his HP to 1 million. Now, without going to parallel worlds, the maximum amount of orbs you can get is normally 11, so that's supposed to be the actual final boss HP for him. Which comes out to 140,000, which is less than the damage that we managed to deal to him on our last stream. So do we want to play it entirely safe and go ahead and fight Spidey immediately upon discovering him? Uh-oh. We got hit with the teleport juice. Bled right on us. You'll see we've used the cover very responsibly there. Now then, where were we? Boats certainly aren't always clear what they do. Definitely. But I think that's part of the fun of it, isn't it? Now we have to discover where the heck we ended up. Always casts fly upwards and gives more knockback. On a wand with better casting stats. Overall, that's an optimal choice. We'll go ahead and take that wand anyway. I think I'll also actually take the chain bolts off because, while they're effective in the initial burst, I think we might be able to, off of stacking modifiers, get way more damage out of doing a bunch of smaller bullets. This game gives you a weird feeling, Ilya. It does for me too. It's like no other game I've played. Even other roguelites pale in comparison to the sort of emergent gameplay we have here. This game has so very much to offer. Only other game I've heard it being compared to is NetHack, which is as classical of a roguelike as they come. Now, if you want to see Xander go full programmer and play a game that's entirely just a text interface, let me know. That would include both NetHack or possibly Dwarf Fortress. Which, oh boy, Dwarf Fortress. That would be a mess. More importantly, we have a lot of slots on here, so let's have some fun with this. Place one before because we have enough recharge modifiers here. Damage plus goes afterwards here twice. And knockback should go first. Oh yeah, that'll work. So now, yeah, there's no effects I'm needing off of there yet. Now, we can go ahead and apply a number of these modifiers back on here, including the weaker spells. Stacking modifiers with the weaker spells will ensure that we can get more use out of the modifiers themselves, rather than spending all of our mana on the actual spells themselves. Which in this case means we should have a very high damage machine gun rather than a very huge burst at the beginning, followed by sort of a series of ineffective shots. That is going to put the hurt on someone. Blood plus slime plus vomit. Hopefully this doesn't poison me. Not enough, but a little bit. We'll have an opportunity to get more blood very soon. I like that. The voting window ends right before the chat does. Those flies are important because they bleed regular blood, and strangely enough, their counterparts with the larger faces actually bleed slime instead. It's weird, I don't get it. Oh. Apparently there was some polymorphine there. Luckily, no enemies around to hurt us. Guess some of it got out of the pot here. Wow, that's lasting forever. There we go. We'll ignore that blood for now to make sure that doesn't happen a second time. I think now we can responsibly beeline to the bottom, which shouldn't be much farther. Take care not to get covered in teleportation. Which happened anyway. Minimal harm done. That would have been lava, but we've transformed all of it into puke. Oil potion. Your trails leave a trail of alcohol. Projectiles. There's a gold nugget down there. What's sparkling? How wonderful for us. Miraculous. While it is unsanitary, we actually won't have to deal with that much lava for now. Although, now we have all this whiskey we gotta get rid of. I'll find another way around. I don't want to fill the entire place up with drunk Xander. Ooh, how about a drunk Noita stream in the future? Depending on exactly how drunk I need to get, that might inhibit my decision-making enough. Should make for a very hilarious and chaotic set of results to celebrate with. After all, and I don't believe in magic, so I'm not jinxing it by saying this, I think this run's very promising, and we might go ahead and actually beat it this time. After all, we're clearing through the final level super quickly. Now I want to find where that delirium's coming from. Seems his crystal is somewhere underneath that other set of vomit and various other uncomfortable fluids over here. Ignore that. We've reached the portal. Now we'll have to deal with Steve one more time because I don't think we've triggered Scott yet. Very nice selection of spells here. Goodbye, Steve. Oh, would you look at that? Well, I think you all know how important more blood is for a vampire. You know what? In retrospect, that does have some negative effects for us. That counts for all enemies bleeding. And different enemies have different blood types. So, if we come across someone that bleeds something dangerous, like those enemies that were bleeding teleport juice on us, that will hurt us in the long run. So instead, I think we'll go ahead and give this a little reroll. Ooh, Saving Grace is one of the most important spell effects in the game. Hopefully we get to pick it and the barrier here. Oh, we are approaching unstoppability. Of course, we still have the chance to get polymorphed and lose our run. Now, don't walk through there. because that will trigger a Holy Mountain collapse. Instead, we're gonna go over. So, here we are at the final boss here. Everyone who has not yet to meet good old Three Eyes here, meet Three Eyes. The spider with a spine. Now, I'll go ahead and let you in a little spoiler. We haven't collected any Orbs of Knowledge yet, which actually scale the difficulty of the final boss. Right now, we're only looking at 1000 HP on this guy. He's not going to be very dangerous for us, and it will be anticlimactic if we attacked him now. So, do we want to wait, or do we go ahead and fight? What do I have against Steve? He's just doing his job, and that happens to involve ending my run. Well, if someone's job gets in the way of my science, such as the many people who have tried to stop me from appropriating toasters from households, I'm just gonna do whatever I can to get around them. I need to figure out how microwaves work, so I'm gonna steal as many toasters as I need. Eventually, I'll figure out that I need to steal microwaves to know how microwaves work. But, you know, I'll steal any sort of house appliances I can get my hands on. Know how it works. Disassembling machines is my expertise. After all, I'm the man who stops the robot apocalypse. There. We are currently creating new Xander lore here. So do we want to wait on Spidey, or do we fight him now? I'll take a moment to consider that while we head back over here to the Holy Mountain. Looks like there's no spells in here that I'd want, except maybe the big magic guard. Later, but not now. We can't even afford it. Well, that's underwhelming. Let's try like this. It's a bit of a better digging tool. I think Spitterbolt may actually be our best option. From a certain distance, it'll actually eat the terrain before it collides with it. So, it looks like with Matter Eater exploitation, the slower bullets are better. We'll go ahead and dig our way back up to the Temple of the Arts so we can get our way out of here soon enough. In fact, even if you say yes, I'm not immediately going to turn around and fight Spidey. I'm going to show you what we'll do instead. We'll keep the Spitterbolt on there, and in fact, you know, I think we can afford to keep the recharge buff on there too. Just to make sure we get around a lot quicker. Kill it before it lays eggs. I got bad news for you. The instant we start the fight, he starts laying eggs. I think that will suffice just well enough. Now, even without the fight happening just yet, we're going to take our detour back up. And hopefully not Noita ourselves on the way, because I'd like to go ahead and fight our friend, the High Alchemist. Usually my first priority to kill, even before the actual final boss. And I will instruct you why once we get there. Now, this is a very dangerous part of our run because while we are digging up like this, we run the risk of immediately running into an enemy that can destroy us, and very quickly. Especially this creep right here, which is the white guy. And I'm not talking about Xander. So creeps are a category of enemy in this game that have a large disruptive hitbox, and they're mostly there to absorb and block attacks. They hinder you from attacking more than actually attacking you themselves. Thunderstorm. It's probably only happening up there, nothing for us to worry about. Now, before we turn back around, normally beneath us, there would be a sea of lava separating us from the hell biome. But, well, you can see hell is not full of lava anymore. Thanks to our grotesque experimentations. I'll go ahead and pick up that health. We'll need it. Come on. Imagine if it actually laid eggs while it was waiting for you. Could get out of hand, but you wouldn't put it past this game. This game has a lot of surprises to throw on you, but honestly, the final boss is one of the most straightforward parts of this game whatsoever. One of the things least likely to screw over a run. He only attacks you when you basically say you're ready for him. Wow, that guy resists a lot of damage. Did I see a treasure chest there that I missed previously? Useful, but nothing too special. Yeah, in order to actually trigger the fight with him, you have to grab that little gear thing from his grubby little claws. Otherwise, he won't actually attack you. That's another creep, but this guy doesn't reflect bullets. He just tanks a lot of them, as you can see. He said despite having lost a run specifically to having fought him after grabbing too many orbs. That was my mistake. In fact, we are shooting for a new game plus this time, which will require us to pick up fewer orbs than what triggers his... That was weird. To pick up fewer orbs than what triggers his polymorphing attacks. So, when we come to fight him this time, it's gonna be honest damage back and forth. We might find some new wands on the way back up as well. Seems we are on the farthest right side. Oh no. Oh no. So that guy is probably the #1 most dangerous enemy, and this is #2. I will explain them in a moment, once we make sure that we don't need anything off of here. Looks good. So, the first guy with the weird gremlin-looking face, he shoots polymorphing bullets, which there's no way to resist that other than eating certain mages. Which, if you're polymorphed, none of your perks or effects or wands even matter. You'll just get destroyed if something decides they don't like you. The second enemy there was a swapper mage. Every time you hit them, you'd exchange positions with them if they don't die. So, you need a one-shot wand to be able to deal with them. What that means is a lot of trigger wand setups, like the one we're using now, if they're capable of hurting you, you might end up killing yourself by shooting them once. I've had quite a few runs end with them because I will hit them with a trigger bullet at first, which will only do a minor amount of damage, but it's carrying a payload such as an electric explosion afterwards. If I don't have resistance to the damage that comes afterwards, that small bullet hits him for a meager amount of damage. The positions swap, and then I get hit by the big thing that comes afterwards. That includes touch spells, which are otherwise our best option to go with. One of your wands has been randomized. I don't think so. Oh! For once, it actually took effect. Although that doesn't seem to have done much to differ for us. Or maybe that one didn't even take effect at all. Does it adjust the stats? No, doesn't look like it at all. James, you're suddenly curious about whether or not there's any logic to the names given to the various potions. I mean, most of them are self-descriptive for what they do. Such as teleportation, teleporting you, polymorphy, doing a polymorph effect of changing you into a sheep. Blood potions are self-explanatory, lava potions, all that. Or is there something else you're referring to? The "eum" suffix is usually used to designate a material, such as on the periodic table. A lot of the elements that were discovered recently and weren't known in the classical era will have "eum" appended to their names, just as nomenclature for the name of a substance. Things that have been known forever, such as gold or lead, will be referred to like that. But all of these synthetic elements will have such names such as Einsteinium or Californium or uranium, which, even though it is one of the more common of the radioactive elements, it wasn't known too much in ancient times. I can't fight that guy. Take polymorphic. Ah! That's what you're talking about. Polymorphine versus morphine. I don't think the morphine... I don't think it necessarily is supposed to signify morphine itself, such as the INE suffix being the name of a... Actually, I'd like to actually look up this. Thank you, James. This is something for us to discover here. What does the INE suffix mean? A suffix of adjectives of Greek or Latin origin, meaning of or pertaining to, or of the nature of, or made of, or like, such as similar. So the "-ine" means a substance like polymorph, or a substance of polymorphine. Whereas "-eum" a suffix found on nouns borrowed from Latin, specifically derivatives of verbs. Deverbal compounds with the initial element denoting the object of the verb, other types of compounds, and derivatives of personal nouns, often denoting the associated status or office. "-eum" also occurs in... Okay, here it is. "-eum" also occurs in scientific coinages on a Latin model, such as in names of metallic elements. So, normally that suffix, the examples here would be tedium colloquium, or even the enemy we've been fighting, delirium, usually refers to in layman's terms, a nouning of a verb. The delirium here would be an object that would cause some sort of insanity, or... Oh wait, what does delirium even mean? It's one of my favorite words, but I don't know the exact definition of it. A temporary disorder of the mental faculties. So yeah, it is sort of a madness or a confusion. I've been using it correctly. I guess that would mean it derives from some sort of verb such as delire? In that case, the nomenclature would imply that polymorphine itself is given somewhat of a regular name. But the teleportation, berserkium, and all that stuff would imply that they're supposed to be metallic compounds or elements. Which I don't think that's true. I think they might have only picked names based off of what sounds good. That would be my guess. As much as that seems to defeat the purpose. Yeah, that's a good one. Has it been an hour already? We haven't even fought the Alchemist yet. Let's speedrun our way there while we can. I can imagine a metallic underlining to teleportation, some of the other substances, such as berserkium. Berserkium, something that's supposed to... hold on. I'll need to carefully navigate my way through here. Yeah, we can't dig through the cursed rock like that. So, berserkium being a substance that makes you do things angrily, I guess that makes absolute sense if we wanted to say that had a metallic base to it. We are not picking up that health just yet. And now, we are going to backtrack for a bit. While we do not yet have a circle of vigor, especially after... Berserkium probably tastes like what? What the... Well, that would certainly be another case of something being capable of noiting me. The vault is full of a lot of laser turrets, but I did not know they had physics. I thought they were only embedded in walls. So I guess that means something off-screen got a little explosive. We should have looked at this one. Well, thank you once again. We will need a lot of this gold soon. So, Ilya, we are going back up because I'd like to go ahead and fight the Alchemist while we arrive to our decision on exactly how soon we'd like to fight the final boss. We might even go ahead and just collect up a few orbs to make it not so much of a pushover of a fight. Now, there's a boss who drops a very specific set of spells that we want, and we will have to fight him. Yeah, everything looks okay to go here. I'll go ahead and pick up the health, since we can make use of it. Omega Saw Blade would be hilarious if we had a gravity effect to apply to it, but that spell violently returns to try to kill you after you fire it. We will not be using it. Find our way all the way back to the top. Here's the jungle. And it should be much faster getting back up after this, because I think, and I'm probably wrong, we might have already carved a bit of a route upwards after this. Also, the jungle itself is much more open than the previous two areas. And aside from the Hissy base, the other two are also very open. Gods are very angry with me, yeah, and they're not doing anything about it. What we would like to look for is a luminous drill with a timer, and a bifurcated or sextuple formation. Hexagon formation, I believe is what it is explicitly called. Cast from a distance, slowly on the way up. Right, say hello to all of the molten metal, which will not hurt us Because unlike lava, molten metal specifically counts as fire damage. So it's completely safe for us. Oh, we are very deep. Oh, wow, that's a lot of stuff we'll have to dig to. Looks like it's reverting to regular metal dust upon touching the water. Explosion on drunk enemies, Eldritch portal. Nothing useful there. Bifurcated cast? Nah. Alright, now we have to get through all of this. And avoid the lava, which was originally supposed to be snow. But remember, we did multiple fungal shifts. First we got snow into lava, and then we got lava into vomit, but that will not change the snow that is turned into lava. That remains as lava from then on outwards, so you can't make a chain of fungal shifts. Maybe you can in a certain order. James, if you played this game, you'd probably just do everything in your power to transmute all things into cheese. Well, I will let you in on a secret. That is, it is possible to fungal shift things into cheese. Oh, back up here, would you look at that? We do have a chance to re-roll for more perks. Let's go ahead and do that. We don't want either of these because we already have fire immunity through oil blood, so give that a re-roll. Nothing useful here. Slime blood is marginally useful. We'll wait to refresh those later. Even the boss is into cheese, yes. It is possible to fungal shift a substance into cheese, and then with that, you can try, with proper planning and most likely a bit of cheating, manage to make it to where you have a touch of something spell, say water, that, well, transmutes your target into cheese. And should this become a mainstay of the channel, which it might in the future, it's already a mainstay, but it might even stay after I expand to different horizons. We might go ahead and try to do silly little experiments, such as trying to transmute everything into cheese. Boomerang spells, your projectiles home back in on you for time. They don't damage me, so no harm done. Well, that makes teleport wands kind of useless if I'm nowhere near a wall. I said get me up there. Or not. Fine. We don't want explosives. We should already have a way back up. I don't think we needed to teleport too much, right? Guess we will have to. We want to be right here. Double check these for any formations we want, or spells we might have missed. Circle of Displacement is cute. Circle of Water might be useful, but no. Doesn't look like there's anything we want here. Only 2 more levels to go. Technically 1, but I don't want to immediately head into fighting the alchemist. From the long path, which goes directly through the collapsed mines. Wait for it to slow down. And unfortunately, the fish here seems to have already expired. Wonder what triggered that. Heavy spread, which might be useful to us. Ah! We did trigger the collapse here, which we want to do as little as possible. Until we manage to get it... that'll work. Until we manage to get an experiment with wands anywhere. Now from here, it should be mostly a straight shot out. Although, actually, correct that. Let's do a little bit of exploring over here. Now, normally this lake would be full of lava, but it's less sanitary than that now. Down here, real quick. Listen for the hum. And there it is. I think it's below me. There it is. That would normally contain a spell, but we did find that on one of our previous runs. Now, we head back up. Those function as full health orbs on top of raising the final boss's HP. So let's make Spidey a little bit more exciting when we go back down to face him again. Ah, if only Broham were here. You know, I do have his Discord. Hold on. Let me message him specifically. Speaking of, this weekend I will be focusing on setting up, and hold me to it, guilt trip me if you see Professor show up on Monday without having done this. I will be trying to set up a streamer Discord for a bit of an easier way to get some networking done. Now we've reached the top here. I'm going to go ahead and get ourselves over to the pyramid real quick. We will want to stack up the extra health, which now we're almost sitting at 500. And after the first few orbs, we should be good to go. Supplemented by 2 barriers, we're going to be very, very difficult to get rid of. We have 472 total, even though it's behind the chat right there. And we're about to pick up another. You know, no one ever shows up to watch Noita, but it does seem to do exceptionally well with retaining viewers that do show up. Uh-oh. They actually are just listed as Lego for their material. So what I'd like to try to do, another thing I want to try to figure out this weekend, is see what sort of advertisement rules there are between the Noita Discord and subreddit and any other places where Noita players aggregate. I'd like to see who would want to see some VTuber Noita nonsense. I know there's that Graves guy. You know, I just realized we had a Satakivi this entire time as an easy way back up. I have a better idea for that. I have a way better idea. Wait, I wonder if we can use Matter Eater on here. Ah, we can. So I guess Cursed Rock is the only thing that we can't eat through with Matter Eater. We do have light on our main spell. A bit of an elegant solution to digging. There. Now, I'll go ahead and show you. Evil Eye. There's a lot of different secrets you can find through that. So, the biome that you see below us is the Ancient Lab, or the Alchemy Lab, I believe is what it's called. Who's up there? think a lot of this stuff should be a first time viewing for Ilya as well. Ancient laboratory, that's what it's called. There's a lot of dangerous and powerful potions and enemies found here, but since we can break the rules with our Matter Eater spell, we're gonna go around. Should be over the next hill, I believe. Yeah, if we dig down from here... Oh right, I didn't modify my spells. We'll go ahead and see how this one works. Right here is one of the next boss rooms, which we'll see if we can hit him from a distance up here. Good amount of damage, but not enough. Let's get out of here. I will want to modify my spells to make sure we can survive that fight, because we are not invincible yet. I also just remembered that since we do have a lighting spell, we have a chance for another heart upgrade we can pick up, as well as a full heal. And those will be underneath the tree here. But we're gonna rummage around. Change of plans since I kept talking and wasn't keeping to the actual itinerary the entire time. Technically I was. We went over to find the orbs first, which will make the final boss a bit better for us. Holy Mountain should be here. Wonder how that guy got so big. Yeah, he just looks like a big Noita. Wait, we can't configure spells here either. Did we trigger the collapse up here too? We did. So we'll have to go down another 2 floors, it looks like. And digging down's much easier. Let's try to stick to that. Just don't die. I will be very responsible. In fact, what we're doing right now is specifically the responsible choice. Can I edit in here? Yes, yes I can. Go ahead and pick that. What else should we do? We won't need to do too much digging. Do we have any boomerang options? We have Ping Pong Path. Let's give this a little test now. Those still fly too far for us to use. Oh, or I could, you know, just completely miss the modifier. So they don't bounce, but they will ricochet, so instead, we have to shoot and then teleport into them. It's doable. It's not perfect, but it is doable. We'll deal with that in a moment. If we find bouncing spells, I think there were a few bouncing... Didn't we find a bouncing larpa earlier, or was that only on my single-player profile? Health plus. Lovely. Only our current amount of health, though. That does not increase our maximum. Alright, Explosion of Thunder is on there, so... we have an opportunity to do very high damage. Don't worry, Ilya, we won't go too far without you. I'll wait until you return before I actually start fighting. That's probably the 3rd worst method of healing you've seen in this game. Yeah, I don't know why Healing Bolt is so common if it's so difficult to make use of. But once we find a few different spell components, I'll show you exactly what we can do with it. Blood plus vomit plus water. Not the best. So, we now have to be incredibly careful with this wand and make sure that we don't end up casting it right in front of us like that. As well, with the reduced recharge time, it's actually potentially very, very dangerous to us. Which is just how I like it. Okay, maybe too dangerous. With that high of a fire rate. Oh, I'm still gonna use it. Because we've just about reached our destination here. Of course. Of course. What's going on over here? And the reason why I'm being so haphazard with the spell here is, as we get into the dark cave over here, where's that entrance? It's here somewhere. Is that an electric wand? Maybe. Ah, there's the water. Ah, and that's where the entrance is supposed to be. So, we now have a challenge of having to get through here. Through dangerous explosions. That's one hole. And there's another health upgrade for us. Yes, it is darker than usual. And that is because this entire map, or that entire area, directly underneath the tree, is always dark. You know what? Heck with it. We'll go up and around. We're not gonna navigate in the dark there. Or, on the contrary, we're just gonna put a light on our digging spell. You all would be very disappointed in me if I had too much confidence here. Do we have a slow spell? No, but we do have plenty of water that we could cast ping pong spell in. And we can't edit wands up here. Have to go down one more floor. The torch does light up. You know what? We'll go ahead and buy it. 100 doesn't mean anything to us at this point. And we did have a light spell on here. We will also be taking the recharge time off because of its capability of hurting us. One digging wand coming up. Damage plus doesn't do too much for us there, does it? Now, what else do we make sure of? We want to grab a little bit of healing. Which means we should, of course, edit that. Poison tray. Not the worst. Although we might want to wait for that to dissipate. It seems it has no harm coming to us if it's cast in water. Oh, never mind. Yes, it does. Although it will quickly dilute, it looks like. Ilya's back. Not much has happened. We are just heading back down and we are trying to reconfigure our wands a little bit. Hey, you know, we do have enough time to do that. It would be better if we had decelerating shot. Or just an outright projectile slower. We also hit ourselves with a couple of shots, so... we are wanting to make sure we're healthy. Now, my absolute dream, eventually, is to have both electric immunity and explosive immunity, and then enough of these reduced recharge times in order to make a lightning bolt machine gun. At that point, I truly become the mad scientist I've always wanted to be. Not that I have to prove it exactly. We will also need to make sure that we have 4 spell slots open up here in our inventory. We don't need critical unoiled enemies anymore. Yeah, that's plenty of spaces there. Alright, now we are off. Although now that I've done the healing, we don't need to go straight through the dark area. So once again, just wasting more time. That was a tactical teleport there. I totally meant to do that. Now cast it out here where it won't hurt me. And our primary wand still has an exceptionally fast recharge time. Wrong spot. We are looking for the next one. And we will fight the High Alchemist who looks like us, but much bigger. I have not nearly been drinking enough as I should have. Alright, dig out a bit of a bigger hole since we will want to make sure we have room to maneuver. Oh, you want a big shot? I got a big shot coming up for you right now. We will want to dig out a bit more of a hole because he does have some explosive lightning bolt spells. And we don't want them to explode behind us and stun us. Now let's do this again. That took off about 1/10 of his health, it looked like. Wait for the barrier to dissipate. And fire it again. And end up hurting ourselves in the process. Let's not get Noita now. So we really can just fire from a long distance and be fine. Especially since it homes in on him. Very much not a good idea to be doing it on an always casts upward. We'll lead him out here, into the sky, where he's weaker and easier to dodge. Wait for the shield to dissipate. Our music isn't even on. Let's fix that. No, it is. It's just not playing his boss music. Come on. 1 or 2 more shots should do it. There's his lightning bolts. Got him. And this is why we had to kill him. We wanted to make sure we'd get our buy Mu, Zeta, useless. And wand refresh here. We haven't done the key quest, have we? I think we can go ahead and leave the pouch behind. We'll want this. Your spells become bouncy for a time. If only I had the healing bolts on me. So, let's go ahead and do a small diversion for our quest here. This key, which I did solve the quest for on a previous stream, I believe. And if not, then I've at least done it offline. We need to take this key and listen to every music box on the surface. Silly Xander, I was the boss in that fight. With a teleporting thunder explosion, absolutely. Here we go. Here's one. And drop the key in there. Now, if only we could find a circle of vigor, then we'll be set. So, I'll show you momentarily why we've done that, Ilya, although I think everyone else here is familiar with the importance of the Greek letter spells. They all have a very specific function tied to the other spells in your wand. So, what does everyone say? Should we go fight Spidey? I will put the electric wand away now that we have dealt with the High Alchemist. He was the fight I was gearing up for there. But for the sake of keeping ourselves a lot safer, I will not be exploding myself. Ah, a glittering field. I wonder if that hits multiple times. It does, but not necessarily in a stable pattern we'd want to abuse. So, we can edit our wands here. We won't need the torch anymore. And now, prepare yourselves for something miraculous. So, I'm gonna waste all my healing bolts here. Trying to make sure I can hit myself with them. I am now out of healing bolts because healing is scarce in this game. They try to make it as inaccessible as possible. Phi casts a copy of every projectile type spell in the current wand. With Phi, we can cast limited spells an unlimited number of times. I've got an idea. I wonder if that has the potential to help us. Hold on. Let me see if I can responsibly damage myself a little bit. Oh, right, we already took the electric explosion off. For science, we must hurt ourselves. 30, not much. I think if we teleport into a wall, we might be able to use that as simultaneously a transport and a healing wand. So, let me break down the science here. We have a Phi, which casts a copy of every other spell in the wand. Then it immediately refreshes, so it doesn't actually cast any of the spells coming afterwards. but it does copy them all from Phi. Now, let's go ahead and put these back on here, since we will not be doing as much digging, but we will want to be hurting things. Zeta is useless, so let's just get rid of that. Mu copies every modifier. So the important thing about Mu is it will copy the add manas as well. Mu itself does cost 120, so it still essentially, at the end, costs an extra 30 to cast it. But it casts a copy of everything else in here, and will apply it to our last two weapons here. That includes the damage plus. What we want to find now is something that does a lot of tiny little ticks of damage. In fact, I think somewhere below, we might have actually had a slime mist or something. Oh yeah, that can really hurt anyone that gets involved there. Why is it still going? Okay. Wow. That is terrifying. If we can find a fourth add mana effect, then we can make Mu free. And every other Mu that we can add afterwards will also be free. As cute as that spell is, it's not powerful enough. Aw, we can't pick up molten gold. You disappoint me. We have enough gold that we're not worried about the petty amounts from these guys. With a tight enough spread, look at that. Huh. I think we'll come back for a reroll on that later. Slime Blood's useful, but not really worth the perk there. We're going to see if we can gamble for something a bit. You know, we have the 3,200 to spare. We might as well do it. Extra perk. I guess. Ah, we can do it again. I'm not immediately spending 6,400 on it, though. Yeah, let's get out of there before I have to figure out what that is. Through all the lava. The fire and the flames, if you will. I think we can make it into this portal before we touch the lava. We still touched a little bit of it. Now we're looking for any sort of a field or mist spell. Seems we don't have any of those here. How did all this lava get down here? What turned into snow? Now there is a spell effect called Liquid to Gunpowder, and that's one we'll want to look for in... Let's do it. Oh yeah, and while we're at it, get rid of that glittering field. Magic Arrow will do just fine. Not the best healing wand, but it's a start. And once we find a bifurcated formation, I'll show you how we can make that really, really good. Oh, wow. That's already run out of mana. We will have to replace that wand pretty soon. Like now. Not good enough. That was the one that was randomly spawned. Yeah, no, that sucks. Slime Mist. I refuse to pay if I don't have to. Now, mist spells normally don't deal damage. Unless you have a damage plus modifier. What this means is it should create a damaging field to our enemies. In fact, even this actually would have been a good reason to pick Slime Blood, because normally, slime will slow us down. You know, if we ever come back, I might go ahead and do that. Pick those, get this. Gather all these together. Alright, I think that works. As much as I love our always casts explosion weakness wand, it does not recharge quickly enough for us to make use of it. Now, let's go visit Spidey. I've got a bone to pick with him. Last time, he decided he liked me more as a flower. I'm going to show him that I'm much better as a mad scientist. Oh, right. I don't know if anyone here actually shut up, or I don't think that was on stream, because that might have been in the Discord call before I actually showed up and started streaming here. We're going to swap all these spells over. But when I showed up for the Nicktoons All-Star Brawl tournament, I think it was before I actually turned the stream on, yeah. Someone said, "Why is there a sexy scientist in the Discord call?" I'm going to let you all know right now that I'd rather be not necessarily perverse on this channel. I'm not sure that I'd exactly call it say-so, given that I do occasionally swear and do occasionally make a lewd joke, but I'm worried I will not be able to escape my irresistible charms. Seems it might be happening regardless. Now, see how quickly everyone's going down. What's in this one? We've already looked at this one. It's going to destroy our frame rate, but it's going to be an incredibly powerful one for us to use. Hey, lovely. In fact, that might even give us something to abuse. You have prevented the bomb on the streamer. Thank you. We will have to find our way downward again, given that the first time we got there through a teleportation fluke. We can go straight down. Nice wand. Although it's less powerful than the one I'm using for the purpose of me wanting to have something that teleports us quickly. This is what would end our run if we weren't absolutely safe where we are. There we go. You know, sometimes I see viewer fluctuations towards the beginning of the stream, but never further along and towards the end. I wonder if YouTube explicitly stops recommending you at a certain point after your stream's been going on. Yeah, you know, on our way back up, we might actually pick Slime Blood. Just because it does have the auxiliary wonderful effect of giving us extra projectile resistance, and I think it does not overwrite our oil blood. Anything else we want from here? Big magic guard, maybe. Larpa bounce. That'd actually be very wonderful for us. We could apply that to the healing bolts, and it would give us a bit more of a better healing option. There's also a bounce modifier here, which, if we ever need that in the future for a healing bolt here, we can use that. Giga Black Hole, I am not going to demonstrate so soon. Hey, Spidey. Miss me? Now I'm gonna let you in on one secret, and that is, those channels open up shortly after the fight starts. We will need to carve these holes out real quick, or else the entire area starts flooding. If you get this far without trying to use any sort of a digging wand, I don't know what you're doing. Now, vomit isn't necessarily too disruptive to what we're trying to do here, but it will hinder our movement. Alright. Tell me, Komisima, are you ready to become a big shot? Of course, slow frame rate because I'm running VTubing software alongside the liquid draining, alongside facing the final boss here. So, Komi actually has a lot of bullets as well as a frequently reappearing shield which will absorb your projectiles and reflect them. What we want to do is try to get him when the shield is down. Like so. From back here, we should be mostly safe. We also have a teleport wand to get on the other side of him, but you see he's already halfway dead, because the slime mist we put up will continue to damage him. A little underwhelming. We didn't find all the orbs we wanted. But might as well make some sort of milestone over here. And goodbye. Now, normally, this is the portal to complete the game. But there's a different trick to if you want to enter New Game Plus, which we will be doing instead. Now that we have beaten the final boss, we get to do whatever we want. Our options are pretty open for us. We have the Sampo here, which changes names depending on how many orbs you have. What we want is to have at least 5, but 10 or less. The New Game Plus conditions in this game are weird, and I actually had to look them up because they are in no way intuitive. If we were in a pool of water, we would have died there. That is an electric rock, and if that would have gone off while we were in the water, we would have just absolutely died there. Ilya, remember never to get on my bad side, she said. I'm not particularly dangerous without my tools, so if you find me out for a sandwich on a pleasant afternoon, I'm probably not armed. Of course, that's exactly what I would say if I was secretly armed, so approach at your own risk. That being said, it is very difficult to get on my bad side. Only few things actually upset me, and number one out of those is technical difficulties, which I don't see you causing for me anytime soon. Your animation was wonderful, by the way. You did say I had permission to do with it as I please. Would you want me to mention you perchance by name on Twitter, or is it more of an anonymous donation? Last time I posted it, I don't think I credited your name specifically. I did say it was from one of my students, if you'd like to keep some level of anonymity. Which, me not showing my real face here on stream, would completely understand. Oh yeah, we're gonna want that slime blood. Especially since this would be so useful for us, slowing enemies down. Temporarily regenerate mana extremely quickly. What are you doing here? So if we pick the slime blood, I believe it gives us a little bit of projectile resistance, on top of making us immune to slime slowing effect. If we pair that with our slime mist spell that we have here, one, we don't really run a risk of damaging ourselves because there's very few sources of actually reflecting damage in this game. So spawning those clouds of mist that actually have damage modifiers on them, say one of your students. Just like last time. Will do. Thank you. I might post that link at the end of the stream. It has been 2 hours. I think we'll make a quick run up the tower. What orbs should we find? What orbs can we find? Do you want to immediately head into New Game Plus, or possibly wait a little bit and explore? That is destroying my frame rate. That actually reminds me, we also have the option to Snowgrave on Deltarune if anyone wants to see, well, that. Although I'm pretty sure our students who are familiar with Deltarune know what that entails. Come on, let me through. Okay, never mind. I'm not going that way. I'm gonna go the long way around. The much more active way around, which might even land us a few new wands and spells. Only a small number of the possibilities that Noita can do for us. Covering everything in slime, I guess that does mark me as a true mad scientist, doesn't it? Yeah, that is what we want to avoid. The guy shooting polymorph projectiles. Luckily, you can pop those bubbles before they get to you. Yeah, Chapter 3 is gonna be nuts, with Snowgrave being like that. So we are also playing it extremely safe. We have extra life and saving grace, both. Saving grace will prevent us from dying if we are above 1 HP. Ah, Broham! Welcome. We are currently running a lot of perks here. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can... Ah! We do have a wheel to scroll through them. Oil blood, so we're immune to fire. We have fungal shifted lava into vomit. Stronger hearts, which is why we have 522 health right now. We found perk lottery very soon into our run. So, vampirism for a little bit of health restoration, although we don't need that anymore. We might be able to use it in a pinch. More hatred, so all of our enemies fight each other. I just did that for the sake of expending more perks. Summon Sadakivi, which we will be using here in a moment. 2 permanent shields because one of them was actually added by a vote roll. So 2 perks. Extra life. And saving grace. So we are very, very safe from dying. We can definitely get into the tower. Ilya's an Undertale or Deltarune fan. I'd like actually to play Undertale on this channel at some point, but funny enough, I've never actually completed the genocide route. I felt like that would have been missing the point that Toby Fox was trying to make. Sure, it's there and he put love and care into it, but the entire point of the game was you aren't supposed to kill everyone if you don't have to, right? What's in here? Rotate towards Giga Death Cross. Nice wand, but nothing we'll need. I do have the extra life. We are going to be performing exceptionally well. Ah, there we go. Get rid of all this whiskey. Only to do it for 100% and the music. As noble of a goal as any. I was conversing something before I started on that conversation, and I already forgot what it was. So, we need to get as far as we can until we start encountering extremely dense rock on the left side, because the structure of the Temple of the Art for this little pathway goes over to the left. You know, I think we can find some better spells that we can use for this. We will also need to find an alternative, actually, since we can't get through Cursed Rock with this. You're a genocide lover in Undertale. It definitely comes with a lot more of an interesting story. As cute as the whole make friends with everyone happy ending you have in Undertale, there's a lot more boundary breaking and exploration to be had through the genocide route. Welcome, by the way, Broham. I don't know if I gave you your formal welcome in here. Unfortunately, you missed the big fight. We already got rid of Spidey. Guess we also don't need the vampirism anymore now that we have the healing bolts, but those aren't entirely reliable. Snowgrave is somehow much worse. Well, unfortunately, also being an Undertale fan, all the results there have been spoiled for me as well. Or a significant number of the effects there, but I haven't actually had a lot of the dialogue spoiled for me. Other than, you know, the specific final boss we have there. Which I will keep undisclosed because I don't think Broham was actually there. Or Deltarune. Now, welcome to the tower. This is a backwards run through all of the biomes that we've had so far. We don't care. Oh, right. I'm supposed to kick that, aren't I, Broham? And there we go. Giant laser. Now, for one of the most difficult levels in the game. Unfortunately, that laser happened off-screen because I didn't know how big it would be. Guess what that means? We have a straight shot up, and we don't care. Oh, hey, look, Steve's back. Steve, we will actually get rid of because he is our biggest obstacle in here. Running out of levitation so quickly. Goodbye, Steve. I said goodbye, and when I tell you goodbye, that means goodbye. Now, normally we'd have to fight through all this, but we have a straight shot up. Welcome to what would normally be the Hell biome, but again, we don't care. Don't care about any of you. Now, while I make my choice, kindly go away. We're only interested in the rewards here, which... we don't have explosive immunity, so it's definitely not the nuke. And I don't think we actually have a use for the Wand of Multitudes yet, so, as usual, best wand. Now, also of note, the pathway through the cursed rock here is destroyed as well. So instead of using that portal, we're just gonna go straight back up. And this is why. So, should we... I'll leave the option up to you. Should we... explore more of the world because there's more orbs out there? Do we want to discover every secret we can? Or immediately mark this one as a completed game and head on to New Game Plus? There. That's what that laser rock does, is it carves an entire hole all the way back up to the sky. In fact, if we kept going, if there were any clouds above here, those would also be destroyed. It probably would have been more responsible to do it on the main path, though. You drop a wand, don't you? Open that face. I want to see you smile. Oh great, Fizzle Mage. Luckily our passive defenses are strong enough that we don't have to worry. We can wait it out. Goodbye. I said goodbye. It's rude to stay alive after I tell you to. Nala. Just gotta get some sleep. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and... I didn't mean to actually do that. Yeah, it has been about 2.5 hours. I think that is an excellent stopping point for us regardless. And perhaps having such a closely knit community here, for the Noita gameplay, I'd rather everyone be here for every important moment. Yeah, everyone. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and head back to our starting point, and we will use that to figure out what we're doing at the beginning of our next stream, which Noita returns on Monday. Tomorrow, we will be doing more Halo CE. Maybe under the influence, maybe not. Well, this is so... oh, wait, hold on. We're not even done here yet. Look at that. 20 new things found on the progress here. We're looking at... Is this really the first time we found Sparkbolt with double trigger on stream? Honestly, thank goodness. You shouldn't be up, but you're gonna tough it out like a champ. Yeah, seems everyone's in agreement. Let's go ahead and stop it here. Seems it's the first time we found some of the enemies, like the medium-sized worm, the ghost worm, expanding spheres, summon rock spirit. We have a lot of new things we've unlocked on this run. Such wonderful progress for us. Alright. I've already done the closing statements on here, so expect to see Halo tomorrow, which will probably be sober this time, since I'd like to power through it quickly and responsibly as possible. Noita again on Monday. I will be setting up the Discord servers and trying to put in more production value into this channel. Come to the decision that, as I said over the past number of streams, really enjoying my time with this, and I'd like to stick with it. So, thank you all so much for your attendance. Class is dismissed. I am genuinely having a lot of fun with this. It's a lot more stressful when no one shows up. Mostly because you all make for such wonderful conversation, and it's a lot easier to actually fill time in that case. Indeed. Thank you, Ilya. Kayla, Broham, James, Leviathan, if you're still here. Night. Good night.